Greetings. Our Frederick Riddle here with another episode of Christian News and Views. This is episode 26-100, and this is Friday, and the title here is New Sanctions. Well, before beginning, I just wanted to express my gratitude to all of you, to whether new viewers or you've been here for a while. This is the 100th episode since the beginning of the year. Thank you for watching. It means a lot. Well, now for the news. The U.S. said on Thursday it has imposed new sanctions on Iran's military oil trade, even as Washington and Tehran reached a tentative agreement to extend their ceasefire and lift restrictions on shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. The Treasury Department said it has sanctioned 8 vessels involved in transporting Iranian crude oil and petroleum products to global markets. The vessels included the Marshall Islands flagged oil tanker Flora, the Comoros flagged crude oil tanker Hunkeo, and the Panama flagged tanker El Gap. We will not allow the Iranian government to increase its oil revenue for the purpose of reconstituting its armed forces and military capabilities, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said in a release. President Donald Trump has yet to approve the ceasefire deal on the war, which the U.S. and Israel launched on February 28th. The conflict has roiled global markets by closing the vital strait off Iran and Oman, through which 20% of the world's oil and gas has normally flowed. The U.S. also imposed sanctions on more than 15 entities, including Worth Scene Energy Limited in Hong Kong, Symphony Shipping and Maritime Management Incorporated in Dubai, and Medvedev Trading Company also in Hong Kong. The Treasury Department said some of the sanctioned Iranian entities also use the oil sales infrastructure of the Iranian armed forces to secure oil products from outside Iran. It said Worth Scene, for example, procures refined petroleum products for the National Iranian Oil Company and on behalf of Sefer Energy Jahan, the oil sales arm of Iran's armed forces general staff, which the U.S. has previously hit with sanctions. So here's my opinion. Now, let's get honest. I've said this before, I'll say it again, I'll keep saying it. The media wants you to think that this war started when the United States and Israel launched its campaign against Iran. That is a lie. This war did not, and I repeat, did not begin on February 28th. A new phase of the war began on that date. But the war, this particular war, began 47 years ago in 1979. And that's as far as this particular Iranian regime is concerned. Now, the truth of the matter is, it's part of a greater war that goes all the way back to Abraham. But for modern times, it began in 1979 when the current regime took power. That is when the new regime began and when it started its war against not just the West, but against America. They use not only direct methods, but they also finance, provide much, if not all, the financial needs of the terrorist organizations, who, especially if they are aimed against Israel and the United States. So the new phase is that the United States has finally said, enough is enough. For 47 years, president after president chose not to counter with force. And their logic was that they want to do things through diplomacy. Well, we have seen after 47 years, I think we know now that the Iran cannot be trusted. There, in my when I teach about artificial intelligence, I say trust but verify. Well, this means well, I'm actually going to change that a little bit for Iran. For Iran, it's verify, verify, verify. Then and only then extend a little trust. Sorry, but that's the way I feel. They don't deserve our trust. Before, we simply had held back, ran directly and indirectly waged a war against America. I mean, how else are you going to say it? Americans were killed. Um, American businesses were attacked and damaged. All sorts of things. Now, we had one president who sent money to try to buy Iran off. He was acknowledging that diplomacy wasn't working. So he decided to try to buy them off. So what happened? Well, he gave billions upon billions to Iran. And what did Iran do with that? Did they help their people out with that money? No. Did they take that money and modernize the country so that their citizens can have a better life? No. What did they do with it? They used it to finance terrorists around the world. And the key thing was they wanted terrorists who were focused on Israel and focused on the United States. There's a second thing here I want to talk about, and that's the sanctions itself. They only work when the country imposing them enforces them. We've had sanctions before, Obama and even before him, but they didn't work. Well, why didn't they work? We didn't enforce them. Oh, we did to some extent, to the most most flagrant violations. But they had not only were there sanctions, there were supposed to be inspections and stuff like that. And I find it hard to believe that with all those inspections, they didn't see evidence that Iran was building up their atomic warfare possibilities, their nuclear weaponry. When Trump came in, that evidence was there. He saw it. He studied it, not only by himself, but he had others who were focused in that kind of area. And they determined that Iran had become a very strong, almost nuclear power, and would soon be a nuclear power, and would use that nuclear power in their campaign against Israel and the United States. And so that's when we attacked. We opened a new front, if you will. Always before, the front was United States territory, United States embassies, United States ships, of course, the whole nation of Israel. But America, as far as America was concerned, we were being attacked. But because it was away from us, not right here in the United States, there was a false sense of security. But Trump saw readily that that wasn't going to last. If Iran was allowed to get its nuclear weapons online, they would then be able to fire them. They'd be able to use them as a threat, and not only a threat, but they would most likely use them. And so that's when this new phase is open. It's a new front, a new phase. You can say that, but it is not a new war. It's the same war, just a different front. The United States has been demonstrating under Trump it has the power to enforce any and all sanctions. Therefore, my confidence level is high. As for the peace agreement, I want to see this war end. But I also want to see Iran as no longer a threat to the world. I think he is correct in being very cautious in accepting any deal. Back in the days of the Roman Empire, they kept the peace to what became known as a Pax Romana. I think it is time for a Pax Americana. Now, I would invite you to comment on that. What do you think? Personally, I think that this is the time to do it. The United States is strong, folks, stronger than the media wants you to know it, stronger than the Democrats want you to think. We are strong. Under Trump, he's pretty well restored. When he was in the presidency the first time, he built up our military strength and made us, and not only military, but economic and energy strength. We were at one point energy number one energy producer or exporter rather in the world. And so Biden did his best to undo all that. But Trump has now reversed all that Biden did. And in his first year in office, he has it's almost like Biden never was here. There's a few residual elements still hanging around. But basically, it's like he was reelected and has continued his administration. And he has built upon that. And so in his first year, he's accomplished great things. He's got 3 years left, so probably a little bit less than three now. But the whole thing is that he has restored America's strength. So this is the time to do what he's doing. What's going to happen after he leaves office? I have no idea. It all depends upon who we elect, who becomes the next president. And for that matter, who we put back in Congress. If we put Democrats in there, I know there's some pain out there right now, but people, you got to think about the future as well. This is going to come to an end, but the current pain. But the thing is, the future does not look well. If we blink, then Iran will win. And you put a Democrat in there, they will blink. They always do. So I would just encourage you to not only vote for whoever replaces Trump, whoever the Republican is who runs for office in well, actually, it's a couple of years yet away. But whoever runs for the office, but also in the midterms coming up real quick, we need to make sure that the Congress is behind Trump, because if you're going to deal with a country like Iran, you need all hands on deck. If you're going to deal with a country like China, you need all hands on deck. And so let's get with it, folks, and support our government. By the way, I'm not getting paid for this. Maybe I should send them a bill, huh? But the thing is, I just believe that we have the right people in the right places right now, and we need to get the job done. Well, that's it for today. I hope I've informed you, encouraged you, and inspired you. I also want you to know that this is sponsored by TNR Independent Books, a Christian indie publisher. If you don't know how to write, we can teach you. And not only teach you, we'll teach you in a way that leads to publication. Perhaps you already know how to write. Maybe you've even written a manuscript, but you don't have a publisher. Well, consider us. Simply go to trbookservices.com, go to our bookstore and to our department, our writing department, and there you will find basic authors training. There's different forms of that there. And you also find ministry publishing. And these services doesn't cost you anything. Check it out. You just click on it, fill out an application, and see if you fit. And you'll get definitely a letter, maybe a packet. You'll certainly get a coupon. A coupon, by the way, that is worth 26% off the retail price. So that's something to consider. That's a pretty big discount. and nobody else can get it except you if you go through this application process. And you can also, even if need further information, you can always ask for it. Well, that's it for today. I hope this has been helpful to you, giving you something to chew about, or chew upon anyhow. And now I hope to see you in the next episode. See you then.